Katie Munn here from Monday Musings. It's another beautiful day here in Portland, Maine. And today on Monday Musings, we are going to be talking about judgment. So this is a topic that I've been thinking about probably for the last 3-4 weeks. And I actually noticed that Gabby Bernstein came out with a new book called The Judgment Detox, which I haven't read yet. But I think maybe this is something that has been on a lot of people's mind and how we judge one another. So today I'm going to talk about the 3 ways that I personally judge individuals. So I judge individuals based on their actions and how I'm thinking they should be behaving. I judge individuals based on maybe the way they physically look or maybe the way they are mentally showing up. And then also the last one is I tend to judge myself the most, harsh of those 3. So judgment of oneself can also be really powerful. So we're going to discuss all 3 of those and how to embrace somebody with love and compassion and non-judgment. So judgment of others based on their behavior. So this is really, really common and really often we do this based on the idea or based on the premises that we want somebody to show up a certain way, right? So we deem that some behaviors are acceptable or some behaviors are unacceptable. And based on that, if somebody's behaving in a certain way, we say like, why can't they get their act together? Like, it's so easy. Why do they keep on doing this thing? And we're judging them, maybe because they're making poor choices, maybe because they're not doing something that we deem as appropriate or acceptable. So a lot of it has to do with our expectations of how another person, quote unquote, should be behaving based on how we think that's how we should be behaving. So, the flawed premises in this is we are all different. We are all different. We all come from different backgrounds, different upbringings. And based on our upbringing, based on our experiences, we have certain tools to navigate the world. And we are always, I like to think everybody's trying to improve themselves and trying to reflect on their actions and their behaviors and trying to evolve. But within that, there's a learning process. So often when somebody is making poor choices that you're like, why are they doing that? That's so silly. It's their journey. It's their mistakes. It's their choices. And judging them based on that isn't being kind. And so that's something when I find myself judging somebody the way I think they should be, I ask myself, is this kind? Like, is this kind to them? And am I being kind? Am I being compassionate? And usually when I find myself judging somebody else, it's a no. So thinking about everybody is allowed to live their own lives. Everybody is allowed to show up the way they want to show up. And you have the choice to either accept that with love and compassion and not judge them and be kind, or judge them. But through the judging process, that isn't very kind. And there are some instances when you say, I love you, I'm compassionate towards you, but I'm not in alignment with who you are, so I'm going to have to take a step back, and that's okay too. But judgment is harmful, it's hurtful, and it really, when you think about it, somebody else needs to learn their own lessons. Somebody else is on their own journey and on their own path. And so respecting that is one of the most beautiful things you can do. So the next one is judgment based on physical looks and based on as well mental capabilities. So a lot of times we judge individuals based on, I think, fear or curiosity or the unknown. Maybe not curiosity, because if we're curious, we're not fearful or hateful. But a lot of times when somebody doesn't look like us, it evokes a feeling of lack of understanding, of confusion, of fear. And so looking at that through a curious lens is really, really beautiful to kind of check yourself and being like, why am I judging this individual based on how they look or based on X, Y, or Z? I have an individual, a friend, she finds herself very judgmental with people with tattoos on their face. So if she sees somebody with a tattoo on their face, she starts making up a story. She starts judging them. She starts thinking about, they must be a certain class and they must have a certain profession, because why would anyone get a tattoo on their face? And it's interesting. She finds herself judging, and then she starts judging herself. So she starts like, I'm such a horrible person. When I think a lot of it is maybe perception, lack of understanding. So in her case, I would recommend like, hey, maybe go up and talk to that person with a tattoo on their face. Like, see why you're so judgmental of them. And it's okay if you don't want to get a tattoo on your face, but why, in what way does it what do I want to say? In what way does it threaten you to have that person have that tattoo on their face, right? On what way does it threaten you to maybe have somebody of a different skin color? Because a lot of times we might feel threatened, like, something's being taken away from us, or there's so many reasons. So what I can say is you're finding somebody that's different from you, and a physical or a mental capability. A lot of times individuals, that's, let's say, somebody's born with Down syndrome and we don't quite understand it. And so we may make fun of that person or we may ridicule them, when a lot of it, I think, is just lack of understanding of how that person navigates the world differently. And that's the thing, we're all unique individuals and we have so much to offer and we are all different. So it's like, what would happen if we just embraced our differences? And then on top of that, found our commonality as humans, human beings on this earth, in this animal body, right? We all have a body, we all have a mind, we all feel love, we all feel sadness, right? So focus on the sort of similarities and honor the differences. The last is judgment of ourselves. So we can be the most critical and the most judgmental within ourselves because a lot of times we're trying to live up to standards or ideals or behaviors. And through this lens of judgment, it's really important, again, ask yourself, is this kind, right? For the previous example, somebody's color of their skin or the way they're dressed, ask them, like, is this being kind? Am I being kind to this person? And within yourself, am I being kind to myself? And a lot of times you'll find, no, you're not being kind to yourself at all. So cultivating kindness, compassion within yourself, and then looking at the stories, looking at the storyline, looking at the truth beneath the story, and trying to figure out, is this even mine? So a lot of times we judge ourselves based on how other people are judging us. And I know it sounds weird, but this kind of was like a revelation to me this weekend. I was thinking about it and I was like, oh my goodness. So society, right? Society says you need to be married at a certain age, or like it's acceptable. Friends and family, right? I'm 35, I'm single, I don't have any kids. And friends or family are always like, when are you going to have a kid? When are you going to get married? When are you going to buy a house? They're always asking these questions. And I realized I did a lot of shifting this weekend and sifting. And I was like, it wasn't until I was 30, like when I was 30, it solidified, like kids would be great. In my mid 20s, from like 22 to 30, I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to have kids. And so literally in the last like 4 or 5 years, it's been kind of like, yeah, that would be really awesome. And then even within that, in the last like 2 or 3 years, the possibility of a sweetheart and like getting married has sunk in. So before, it's kind of like, oh, I always want to get married, and it was kind of this abstract, obscure thing. But in the last couple of years, it's been like, oh, that would be really cool too, like that, maybe like find a sweetheart to like cultivate a house with. But I found myself judging myself based on a truth that wasn't even mine. So let that sink in. We often judge ourselves based on a truth that isn't even ours. So my family was like, you should be getting married, you should be having kids, you should be buying a house. And then I found myself judging, like, oh, why am I not married? Why don't I have kids? Why don't I have a house? And then I sat on it and I was like, that's not my story. That's not my truth. My truth is happening right here, right now. Everything is unfolding so beautifully. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Like, no, thank you. I'm not going to judge myself based on a truth that's not even mine. So looking really deep, right? Going in really deep, finding, what has society told me? What did my family tell me growing up? What did friends tell me? What did teachers tell me? What are the things that other people have told me? And has it been supportive in my life? And am I judging myself on things that aren't even my truth, that don't even resonate with me? So doing the deep excavation work, being curious, being compassionate, being kind to yourself is one of the most beautiful things you can do today. So throughout this week, when you find yourself judging somebody else, first of all, ask, is this kind? Second, try to cultivate some curiosity about it and be like, why am I judging them? Like, is this something I'm judging them based on I would do it differently, or because there's fear, or I'm scared? And then once you come up with an answer, just sort of sitting with it and be like, that's really interesting. So I hope you all have such a beautiful week. We have a new moon tomorrow, so do some new moon manifestations. Yeah, I love you all so, so much, and I'll see you next week. Bye.